The following program is produced by Laura K. Henderson, Michael Ray Helms, and Jen Hebben, under the direction of executive producer Laura K. Henderson and the board of All Ears Theater, with funding provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation and an anonymous donor. All Ears Theater. It seemed that just about everyone at radio station KQAX, the pride of Omaha, had a reason to want popular radio star Lance Thibodeau dead. And after Lance expired during the final broadcast of his show, it was up to the police to unravel the tangled web of motives. Or was it? So sit back and try to figure out who done it with tonight's show, Murder on the Air. Featured in tonight's cast are Mary Kay Albee, Todd Freestone, Eric Hayner, Lydia Canals, Richard Philpott, Krista Robinson, and Mickey Sykes.
I'll kill him. I swear it. This time I mean it. I'll really kill him.
You'll have to get in line to kill him.
What do you mean, Leo?
You're just the producer, Betty. I'm the station manager. If anyone's going to kill Lance Thibodeau, it's going to be me.
Well, all right.
Now, to do this to me, after all the time and money we spent to develop that jerk, our biggest moneymaker, and he's going to take it all to KDUK. Why I let you talk me into that screwy clause in his contract, I'll never know.
Leo, you know as well as I do that he never would have signed in the first place if we didn't include that clause. And you wanted him in the show just as bad as I did.
Yeah, but to give him all rights to the character? I must have been crazy. Now his contract is up and he's leaving and taking Brick Steel with him. Mrs. Pettigrew is going to have my head on a platter.
I still think we can retool the show without him. Maybe bring in a new actor.
No dice. Without Lance, Murder on the Air is as dead as its weekly victim. And KDUK gets the gravy, as usual. I think that's what gets me the most.
Have you heard from the people at Coleman's Coleslaw?
Yep, they're pulling their sponsorship after his last broadcast. Just like that, after 3 years.
They weren't interested in any other show?
Nope, all they want is Lance. At our last meeting, they asked for KDUK's phone number. I gave them the number for the city pound.
Her car just pulled up.
Oh, boy. Betty, you get out of here. I think it'll be better if I see her alone.
No argument here. Good luck, Leo.
Myrna, when Miss Pettigrew gets here, show her right in.
Right, boss.
Okay, Leo, it's showtime.
Mr. Stanger, I've been up all night worrying. I hope you have some good news to give me.
Well, I'm afraid not, Mrs. Pettigrew. Lance is determined to leave us tonight after his contract runs out.
Lance Thibodeau. I know for a fact that his real name is Moishe Feldman.
Well, be that as it may, we're still losing our best program and biggest star.
And our biggest sponsor. Do you think it would help if I were to talk to the Coleman's people?
Well, it could never hurt, but I think they're determined to go with Lance.
You've talked to Mr. Thibodeau and given him our best offer.
I gave him our best offer, then I went better than our best offer. He wouldn't even listen. It's like he's taking pleasure in leaving us in the lurch.
Is there anything our lawyers can do?
Well, I've already had the lawyers go over the whole mess. There's nothing they can do.
Well, then that's it. I'm tempted to go down to the broadcast studio and give him a piece of my mind.
Well, there's 7 minutes till air, so I wouldn't bet he's even in the building yet. He waltzes in here whenever he feels like it. Though I have to give him credit, he's never missed a show.
In that case, I think I'll just go on home, put a wet cloth on my forehead, and try to forget that Mr. Lance Thibodeau ever existed.
Has he shown up yet?
Not yet, Bert, but he's still got 3 minutes. He went out to dinner with Carmen.
Honestly, Howie, how do you put up with him for so long?
What other choice did I have? Once he became so popular, Lance was in the driver's seat and I was just the director. Not that he ever paid any attention to me. Oh, if I didn't need this job so bad, I'd have chucked it long ago.
What are you going to do now that he's leaving?
I don't know. Lance has made it more than clear that he doesn't want me with him at KDUK when he moves over there. If Leo doesn't have another show for me here, I may have to go on the dole.
Oh, gee, that's tough, Howie. I was lucky to get picked up for a recurring role on Personality Parade. It's not as much money, but it's better than nothing.
I'm glad for you, Bert.
Well, look, His Royal Highness has finally arrived.
Buzz off, Bert. Thank goodness after tonight, I don't ever have to look at your ugly mug again. And you, Howie, don't just stand there with that vacant stare on your face. Make yourself useful and go get my throat spray.
Okay, Lance.
Carmen, is anything wrong? Your eyes are all red.
Oh, no, nothing's wrong. It's just that this swell sport took me out to dinner just to dump me. I didn't even know there was an Albanian restaurant in Omaha.
Dumped you? Lance, you've been going out with Carmen for more than a year. Why would you do such a thing?
Not that it's any of your business, Bert, but when I leave this crummy little station, I'm going to get rid of all the tawdry little reminders that I was ever here, including Miss Carmen Latour.
Thanks a bunch, Romeo. My only regret is that I wasted a year and a half on the likes of you. I'd scratch your eyes out, but I just had my nails done.
Charming! After I go to KDUK and finally get my career going, I'm going to find a woman that's truly worthy of me.
Oh, that's rich, you son of a rat sister.
Ho, ho, ho! The cat has claws.
I don't know how, and I don't know when, but someday I'm gonna get even with you, Lance Thibodeau.
Come on, you two. Break it up. We've got a show to do.
Howie, please don't try to act like a real director at this late date. Have you got my throat spray?
Here, Lance.
Well, contrary to popular belief, you are good for something. Now that we're on the cusp of our final show together, Howie, I really must let you know that I have achieved my great success in spite of your help. As a director, the high point of your effectiveness was when you fetched me my throat spray. Don't wander off with it. I'm feeling a little hoarse tonight.
Jeez, Lance, that's pretty harsh.
Yeah, just what you'd expect from Mr. Wonderful.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
We've only about a minute to air. On stage, everyone. Are you all set, Teddy?
Ready, Howie?
Howie, give me another hit of throat spray. It may be your final contribution as a director.
You may be right, Lance. Here you are.
Me. Good. Now let's get this thing over with.
5, 4, 3, 2, cue music.
KQAX Radio, the pride of Omaha, is proud to present Lance Thibodeau, starring as Detective Brick Steele in Murder on the Air, featuring Carmen Latour, Bert Cassidy, Ethel Sykes, and Buddy Palmer. Brought to you by Coleman's Coleslaw. It's tangy, it's creamy, it's Coleman's. Tonight's gripping story of suspense opens on Detective Brick Steele questioning a suspect in the interrogation room at police headquarters.
Admit it, Vonda. You were at the scene when Horseface Harry got iced.
You'll never prove anything, Flatfoot. I got my alibi, and I'm sticking to it.
Fine. I hope you like the accommodations at this little hotel, because you're going to be staying here for a long, long time.
You don't scare me, Steele.
Okay. We'll just see if cooling your heels in a cell for a while will make you any more talkative. Sarge, we've got a guest for the private suite. Make sure she gets a room with a view.
Right, Brick.
Yeah, gorgeous?
The captain wants to see you, Brick.
Oh yeah? When?
Yesterday, you better hightail it over to his office in one quick hurry.
Okay, beautiful. I'm on my way. Hi, Chief. What's cooking?
What's hooking, Steele, is that you need to heist your keister over to the Murgatroyd estate.
Murgatroyd, the banker? What's going on?
It seems that old man Murgatroyd took a header out of a tower window and found out he couldn't bounce.
Dead?
As a mackerel. Get going.
Right. I'll see if Hennessy can give me a...
Steele?
Switch over to a recording, now!
Horrible, just horrible.
Yeah.
Dead, and it happened on the air.
Yeah, just after the program got started. When Lance went down, Howie switched to recorded music, but his choking went out over the air. I called the police, and they told me to keep everyone here. They're sending someone over to investigate.
They don't think someone here at KQAX did this awful thing.
They said over the phone that there was a good chance.
Oh, dear.
What is it, Myrna?
The policeman is here, Mr. Stanger.
Send him in.
Yes, sir.
Stanger?
I'm Leo Stanger.
Detective Fisk, homicide.
So you think it really was murder?
Looks like it. Poison. Of course, we won't know for sure till we get the autopsy report, but I bet a week's pay on it.
Excuse me, Detective Fisk. I'm Eulalie Pettigrew, the owner of this station.
Yeah?
And as the owner, I would like to know how you intend to proceed with your investigation at my station.
Look, lady, I don't discuss my methods with every stumblebum off the street.
Oh, boy.
Detective Fisk, I feel you should know that I'm a close personal friend of Commissioner Ramsey. I would hate to have to tell him that one of his employees was disrespectful to one of the taxpayers who pays his salary.
Yes, ma'am, I can certainly see your point.
I thought you might. Now then, how do you intend to proceed with your investigation?
At this early stage, I want to interview all the people who had contact with Tiberday before the show, along with any others who may have had motive and opportunity.
I see. Detective Fisk, this murder investigation could have a devastating impact on my radio station. I would like to be present during your interviews.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't allow that. There's every chance that the suspects will clam up with the head honcho in the room.
I suppose. What about Mr. Stanger? Could he...
Same thing. It just wouldn't work.
Well, how about Myrna?
Who?
My secretary, Myrna Castle. She could just stay in the background during your interviews and take notes.
Well, I don't know.
Excellent idea, Mr. Stanger. And we would, of course, show those notes with the police department.
Well, it'll be hours before the police stenographer can get down here. Your way, I could start interrogating right away and get a jump on the case.
Oh, good. I'll call her.
Yes, Mr. Stanger?
Myrna, can you come in here, please?
Yes, sir.
Myrna, this is Detective Fisk. He's going to talk to some of the people here at the station. I want you to go with him and take notes during the interviews.
Okay, I'll get my pad.
Well, now that that's settled, I might as well start with you two.
Us?
I beg your pardon.
Look, just because you're in charge here doesn't mean you're not on my list of suspects. As I see it, you both have motives. Losing an important star like Tiberday.
Well, that's just it, Detective. Lance's contract was up. He was leaving the station anyway. What would be the point in our killing him now?
The word on the street is that Tiberday was headed to station KDUK. And you, Stanger, got a thing about KDUK.
Well, they've stolen 3 of our biggest stars in the past 2 years. We spend the time and money to develop the talent, and they just snatch it away from us.
Makes you mad, huh?
Of course it makes me mad.
Mad enough to finally do something about it? Mad enough to prevent Tiberday from ever working at KDUK?
Oh, of course not. Besides, I didn't even see Lance before the show. How would I poison him?
There are ways. And how about you, Mrs. Pettigrew? Where were you before the broadcast?
I had a brief meeting with Mr. Stanger here in his office, and then I went home. I didn't return to the station until Mr. Stanger called me after Lance had died.
Uh-huh. I'll have to check into all that for confirmation. In the meantime, I would appreciate it if both remained in this office until I conclude my initial interviews. You ready, Miss Kessel?
Yes, Detective. And I took the time to pull the personnel files of everyone involved, in case you would like to look them over.
I'll look those over later, maybe. Where are all the rest of the suspects?
Oh, they're in the green room. Myrna can show you where it is.
Okay. Lead the way, Miss Castle.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stanger, I do not like that man.
Oh, ditto, Mrs. Pettigrew. Ditto.
This is the green room, Detective Fisk.
Green room? Looks more like an off-beige to me.
The green room is just a theatrical term. It's a place where the actors can gather and relax before and after a show.
Right. And who do we have here?
Detective Fisk, this is Howard Semple, who directed the show, Betty Webster, the show's producer, and Carmen Latour, one of the actors.
Okay. People, I'm going to talk to you one at a time. Semple, you're up first. Miss Castle, is there some place where the others can wait till I need them?
Come on, Carmen, let's wait in my office.
And don't talk to each other while you're waiting.
And they say chivalry is dead.
All right. Semple, have a seat. Now, tell me what you were doing before the show.
Well, I came into the studio about an hour before the show. I spent most of the time going over the cues with the sound effect man. Lance wasn't even here. He usually didn't show up until just before we went on air.
Is that unusual?
Not for Lance. All the other actors are here at least half an hour before we go on, but Lance did what he wanted. When you're that popular, you can get away with pretty much anything, and Lance did.
Uh-huh. Back to before the show.
Right. I came into the green room a couple of minutes before the show, and Lance and Carmen were yelling at each other. I stepped in, and Lance lit into me.
Did he do that often?
Oh, well, Lance didn't like authority figures, so I guess he resented my interference. He didn't have a lot of respect for me.
And then what happened?
And then the show started, and you know the rest.
If Thibaudais had moved over to KDUK, what would have happened to you, Simple?
How do you mean?
Your job here is gone. What happens to you?
Well, I'm not sure. I would hope that I could stay on at the station, but with this depression, that might not happen. I'm afraid I might have to go on relief.
Okay. I think that's all for now, Simple. Go back and send in Latour.
Right.
Well, what do you think, Miss Castle?
It seems to me something's missing.
Huh?
I mean, Lance used to ride Howard pretty rough. It seems to me like he kind of glossed all over that.
Oh, yeah?
You ready for me, Prince Charming?
Close the door and have a seat, Miss Latour.
Okay, Toots. What do you want to know?
You had dinner with Thibaudais tonight before the show.
Yeah,
Where did you eat?
at a little taste of Tirana over on Division.
The Albanian place? I thought that Board of Health closed it down last year.
They reopened it last month. Lucky me.
Did you notice anything unusual about him at the restaurant?
Outside of the fact that he dumped me after going together for more than a year? No. He was the same charmer as always.
Why did he dump you?
I didn't fit in with his plans anymore. He told me the only reason he went with me at all was so that I would be cooperative on the show. Now that he was leaving the station, he didn't need me anymore.
Did that make you mad, huh? Mad enough to kill?
Listen, Flatfoot, I was plenty mad then, but I didn't kill him. I may have wanted to, but I didn't.
Well, it would have been really easy for you to put poison in his food while you were eating.
I didn't know he was going to dump me when we went to the restaurant. What do you think? I carry around poison in my purse all the time, just in case?
It just seems awfully convenient, is all I'm saying.
You'd be better off grilling the cook at the restaurant. That's where the real crime was committed.
Come on, sister. It's just a matter of time before we find out where you got the poison. Why don't you make it easy on yourself and come clean? A jury would probably let you off with a slap on the wrist if you play up the woman scorned angle.
I don't care about your angles. You want to find out who really killed Lance? You're going to have to do your own work. I'm not going to do it for you.
All right. You want to make it easy for yourself? I'm not going to squawk. I'm done with you for now. You can go back to the office and send in that Webster woman.
Tell you what, Fisk, find the real killer and I'll take you out for dinner. You like Albanian food, don't you?
Scram!
You really think she could have done it, Detective Fisk?
She looks good for it.
But how could she have gotten the poison? How would she have known how to use it?
Minor details. I'll bet the more we find out about Miss Carmen Latour, the better the pieces will fit together.
But she's just an actress.
It don't matter. When someone really wants someone else dead, they find a way to make it happen.
Uh-huh.
Detective Fisk?
Come in, Miss Webster. Park it over there.
Well,
Miss Webster, you were the one who discovered and brought Thibaudais to the station, correct?
yes.
Yes, and the word around the station is that you gave him a real sweetheart contract.
Oh, I don't know about that. It might not have been our standard contract, but I wouldn't say it gave Lance anything real special.
You wouldn't, huh? You gave him all the rights to all the characters he created for this station, and now he was going to take them to your biggest rival. That makes you look pretty foolish, doesn't it, Miss Webster?
It was.
In fact, it does a lot of damage to your career, doesn't it?
But I didn't
Did it make you mad enough to kill him?
What? No.
You might be right. You probably wouldn't lose your job here. The bigger question is, why give Thibaudais such a sweetheart deal in the first place? He was an unknown before he started here. Why did you do it?
Well, Lance had such great potential. We felt we had to give him whatever he wanted.
Nah, I don't think so. It was something else. You know you weren't romantically involved with him. What was it?
What was what? I told you why. I can't help it if you choose not to believe me.
You're right. I don't believe you. Now, just why would you want to bend over backwards for a nobody? Unless, maybe, that nobody had something on you. What was it, Miss Webster? Was Thibodeau blackmailing you?
Of course not. He,
Come on. What was he holding over you?
He...
Tell me.
He knew about my past!
What about your past?
When I first came to Omaha, I had a real tough time finding work. I was getting desperate when a girlfriend of mine told me about this agency that was looking for pretty girls and paid well. I signed up and worked there for about 6 months before I was able to get a job here at the station.
An escort service?
Yes, an escort service.
How did Thibodeau find out? Was he one of your clients?
No, I don't know how Lance found out, but he did. And he threatened to tell the station manager unless I gave him the special contract, so I did.
So you gave him the special contract and he becomes a big star. Did he shake you down after that?
No, he never asked for anything else, but he told me once that I was his insurance policy. He might not need me right now, but maybe in the future, who knows?
So you always had a sword hanging over your head. One way to eliminate that problem was to eliminate Thibodeau, right?
No, I couldn't.
So how did you do it, Miss Webster? How did you slip him the poison?
I didn't. I may have hated Lance, but I could never have done anything like that.
Right. You just want to let him go on his merry way.
You don't understand. Are we done here?
For now, Miss Webster. But I think you and I are going to have some more talking to do in the near future.
Well, that was pretty.
Murder ain't pretty, Miss Castle. If you get these people rattled enough, one of them is going to slip up and I'll slap the cuffs on him, or her, as the case may be.
That's your strategy? Just to shake things up and see what happens?
It's worked before, kiddo, and it'll work now.
I don't think my report is going to give Mrs. Pettigrew a great deal of confidence in you or your methods, Detective Fisk.
Why do I care? I don't work for that old lady, and I don't care what she thinks of me. All I care about is finding the murderer.
So what's next?
I should get the report from the lab on what exactly killed Thibodeau early tomorrow morning. Once I've got that in my hot little hands, I think I'll have my murderer.
Well, I'm going to give my report to Mrs. Pettigrew and Mr. Stanger. I'll type up my notes from the interviews and send them over to the police station.
Thanks. You know, you're not such a bad kid, but you don't want to get mixed up in things that are over your pretty little head.
Good advice, Detective. I look forward to your solving this case.
Well, Mr. Stanger, you said to be in your office by 10 o'clock, and it is now 10:15, and still no Detective Fisk.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. P. Fisk said everything would be here at 10. I was just passing along the message.
I certainly hope he arrives soon. I'm missing a very important lecture on the Cecropia moth. And my name is Mrs. Pettigrew, not Mrs. P.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Mr. Stanger, Detective Fisk.
Please remain, Miss Castle. I would like you to take notes for this meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Everyone here?
Yes, we're all here. We've all been waiting for 15 minutes.
Sorry about that. I just stopped to pick up the autopsy report on my way over. Now that I've got your attention, I can tell you for sure that Lance Thibodeau was poisoned. The coroner found trace amounts of acetylchloroethanate in his body. It's a poison that causes a gradual paralysis of the respiratory system. In small amounts, it's used on trauma patients. In larger doses, it's fatal. It takes a while to take effect, so it could have been slipped into him before the broadcast, like at dinner.
I told you, you FBI reject. I didn't do it.
Settle down, sister. Opportunity is only one aspect of this case. Just as important is motive, which this case has in spades.
What are you talking about, Fisk?
Everyone in this room had a good reason to want Lance Thibodeau dead.
I don't think so.
Pipe down, all of you. Now, Thibodeau was no Boy Scout. He's stepped on plenty of toes around here.
I resent, Detective Fisk, your including me in your list of suspects. I hardly ever saw the man.
Yeah, let's talk about you, Mrs. Pettigrew. I did a little poking around, and it seems that finances here at KQAX are on a pretty shaky ground. To lose a big moneymaker like Thibodeau would be a big blow to you.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Which brings us to the station manager. Everyone knows, Stanger, how much you hated KDUK. It must really grind your gears to lose your biggest star to your biggest rival. Maybe it made you mad enough to do something stupid.
The only stupid thing I did was to hire the bum in the first place.
Set it to music. And then we come to the lady scorned. Lady in quotation marks.
Why, you dirty rat!
Button your lip. Let's see. Dumped by the guy after he led you on that he was going to take you with him to his new job. And now you've got exactly nothing. Plus, you had a great opportunity to slip the poison into his food at the restaurant.
I'd like to slip you something, you big palooka!
Likewise, I'm sure. Then, just to keep things interesting, we have the producer with a past who bends over backwards for Thibodeau. Literally.
Detective, please.
And last, but by no means least, we have the mild-mannered director. Anybody gets ridden that hard for that long, something's got to give.
Okay, Fisk, we've heard your deductions. Are you going to make an arrest or what?
Oh, yeah, Stanger, I am. Officer, step in here.
Yes, sir?
You got the bracelets? Well, snap them on Carmen Latour. What? And take her down to the stations, where she will be charged with the murder of Lance Thibodeau.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Detective, but I think you're making a little mistake.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think it was Carmen who did it.
You don't, huh? Then who did?
Carmen has a temper, but she just doesn't have the know-how to poison someone, especially using an obscure poison with a delayed action. If you had bothered to review the personnel files, you would know that there's only one person here with that special knowledge.
Oh, yeah? And who's that?
Howard Semple.
Hold him, officer. Well, Simple, what about it?
Yes, I did poison Lance. You see, I just couldn't allow him to destroy another director. It's too late for me. I just couldn't bear the thought of my suffering happening to someone else. So you see, I had to do what I did.
You got the cuffs on him? Good. Take him down to headquarters. I'll be right behind you.
Extraordinary. Howard Semple. I never could have guessed. Miss Castle, what on earth made you suspect him?
Simple. Howard's personnel files show that he had been a pharmacist mate in the Navy during the war. He had a working knowledge of drugs and maybe even had some on hand. That, coupled with the way Lance used to constantly browbeat him, made me think that he was the one.
Well, that all makes sense, but he wasn't at the restaurant. How did Howard give Lance the poison?
In Lance's throat spray. He made Howard bring it to him all the time. It would have been easy for Howard to slip the poison in the spray bottle.
How very sad. Of course, Mr. Stanger, the station will provide for Mr. Semple's defense.
I'll call our lawyers as soon as we're done here.
Good. And now, after all this excitement, I believe I will go home and lie down for a bit. Well done, Miss Castle.
Good idea, Mrs. Pettigrew. Why don't all of you take the rest of the day off? I think we all could use some time to unwind. Myrna, give me a sec before you take off.
Yes, Mr. Stanger?
Myrna, I'm really impressed. The way you put the clues together was extraordinary. I guess I sort of remembered that Howard had been a pharmacist mate in the Navy, but I didn't connect the dots.
Thank you, Mr. Stanger. I think the lesson of all of this is that if you put someone down long enough, sooner or later, something is going to snap.
Myrna, you don't feel put down around here, do you?
Oh, no, Mr. Stanger. The people here at KQAX are wonderful to work with. Well, most of them, anyway.
Most of them? Thanks, Myrna. Take the rest of the day. Go home and relax, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, Mr. Stanger. Bright and early.
Well, I'll be a brass doorknob. You've been listening to Murder on the Air, written and directed by Tim Eschelbach. With sound engineering by Lester Batts of Sound Solutions and Martin Clem of Kalamazoo Recording. The music was composed by Hal Hobson Morris and performed by Evan Callan and Annie Beach. Sound effects were performed by Gary Brown and Sarah McLean. This nonprofit performance was performed at the First Baptist Church, KNAC, and is copyrighted by All Ears Theater, with all other rights reserved by the author. Any resemblance to persons living or dead, or characters, names, places, or incidents is purely coincidental. This is your announcer, Mickey Sykes, thanking you for listening and inviting you to visit us again for another audio theater presentation.